Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blockchain Beats, where we explore pioneering artists taking audio and music to the next level of emerging tech and interactivity with NFTs. Our guest today is Razmard, an Iranian artist who deftly combines lush musical tapestries with vibrant visuals, channeling his subconscious to create magical motion paintings inspired by ancient wisdom schools and religions. Razmard, so hyped to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I hope my connection issues don't cause a problem.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on. I know you have to jump through some hoops to make it happen. So we appreciate any time you could spend with us. And really, a lot of your art and music does the talking. Uh, I would like to just level set everyone um, and give them kind of a quick peek at the type of work you do. But before I do that, if you could give me a synopsis, just really brief, how would you describe yourself as a creative?
Could you please repeat that? I kind of didn't get the end.
Yeah, how would you describe yourself as an artist? You do so many things. If you had to give someone an elevator pitch, like really quick, this is what I am, how would you make it in brief?
Yeah, so basically, I would say I am a music producer that draws and animates, and my main focus is on learning music. Basically, I try to, play different instruments. I try to, come up with new production techniques, mix different sounds. So my passion is basically music, but since I've been drawing and I've been designing since a young age, I kind of try to kind of invest in both directions because I think it's better, you get happier if you're not focusing on one thing at a time. You don't get into that tunnel vision.
Yeah, and when you say that, it's really striking to me because when we show your work in a minute, it almost sounds as if music's really always been the focus and you picked up art on the side, which may be the case, but you are incredible at it. People may or may not have seen both DC and I, when we came across your work, we were sharing it and really excited about some of the different things that we had seen in particular. But it was this piece that caught our attention. So incredible, in my opinion, incredible in all facets, both the way that it comes together, and as well as the music. We actually have a comment from the audience. It seems that your mic is a little bit low, Rasmard. So if you could, I don't know if it's you have a volume setting there, but they just mentioned they'd like to hear more of you. But that's super dope from all sides. So supremely talented from everything that you're doing to incorporate into your art, and it's not like something else is kind of a ride along. I think that all of it is really cool quality, and I'd like to talk about how you got into the level that you are right now. But just to give us all a foundation, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your journey into art and how you got here?
So basically, is it better? Can you hear me better now? I guess I
Much
turned
better,
the
thank you.
volume way up. So, all right. So basically, I wasn't an artist. I didn't call myself an artist. I used to draw since I was young, and I used to play music since I was I don't know 14 or something, like with a classical guitar. but I didn't really get to it until I was like 18. I bought my first electric guitar and I started teaching myself how to play it. And as I was doing that, I started kind of making some basic beats with FL Studio back in the day, and it was just a hobby for me, and I didn't do it as a profession since like for a long time. I actually studied network engineering, and I used to like work as a network engineer. But I kind of quit that after I found out that my job is not really what's gonna satisfy me in my life. So I just quit it and started, into the start like I don't know, soul searching basically. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to make sense of everything, and I kind of found art as a means to explore what's inside my head that I can't really put into words. So that basically led me into exploring music more. I kind of like got focused more on exploring Persian music more, like learning what instruments there are, and kind of connecting with mythology, with my culture, and that kind of played a, I think, pivotal role in my worldview, and that kind of led me into just calling myself an artist and doing it full time.
Yeah, that's it's a interesting journey. I think that you end up in IT and find out, this is kind of burning out. It's not for me. At the same time, I read some of the things you were doing while you were exploring, and it seemed like the perfect marriage at some point, right? This technology emerged where you could take art and technology and kind of forge it with all the different elements and make something new. Before we get here, when you're young, when you're a kid, are you curious about music already? Are you really enamored with different cultural things and mythology then, or is this something you started exploring when you were older? Resmard, not sure if we're having a little bit of audio difficulty there, but what I had asked is, was that something you were always exploring when you were young, when you were a kid? Were you playing music, or did you have any influence around you then, or is that something that just became a curiosity as you got older? I think Resmard may need to jump out of the stream for a minute and then come back. He is juggling with some VPN issues with
I'm
where
so
he is.
sorry. I'm getting disconnected.
No, not a problem, my friend. You may need to hop out and come
Sorry, I
back.
got disconnected. Can you hear
Uh,
me?
we can hear you now. Can you hear us?
Uh, your voice is kind of getting rugged for me. I'm so sorry. So
No,
I don't
no
know how to
problem.
fix this right now. I'll have to. I
Can you
don't
hear me
know.
a little bit? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to speak and then type in chat to Rasmard so maybe you can see it then. Ask him if when he was a child he was into art and mythology as well.
Actually, I wasn't. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, guys, I'm not sure if Razmard will be able to hop back in. If he is, we will definitely have him explain more about his art. In the interim, I will just showcase some of this different stuff as he tries to work through his connection issues. Really, what was striking to DC and I was number one, the music was incredible, obviously very high quality, and incorporated what seemed like a lot of like rich cultural sounds from where he is. He's using instruments that are native to Iran and weaving it in with almost what sounds like some hip hop and beat elements. So I'll take a look at some of the. You're back.
Yes, it's fixed. Thank God. I can hear
Awesome.
it clearly now. I'm
Well, I
sorry.
was ready to go on without you because the stuff is so dope that people still would need to see it. But glad to have you with us. Question was, when you were young, were you into the arts? Were you into music and any influences then, or is that something you explored when you got older?
Yeah, definitely. When I was younger, I was into anime and manga. I was like, when I was, I don't know, 11 or 10, I started watching anime, and that really got an influence. I used to dream of becoming a mangaka and moving to Japan when I was younger, actually, but I really didn't think of it. Like, I was born in a working class family, so we really didn't think of becoming an artist as a real profession to do. Like, you had to, either become a doctor or an engineer, or, that was the culture around here back then. So, but, it kind of changed as, things became, like, the internet came around, and, multimedia stuff got more attraction to it. I could kind of divert myself into that direction.
Very cool. When you started, experimenting with music and going down that route with Fruity, oh sorry, FL Studio, as it's now known. I'm showing my age there, dropping Fruity. When you were experimenting with that, did you, kind of enter the music industry? Did you start producing for people as well?
No, I actually, it's kind of tight knit here, the music industry, and you gotta know people to get in. And back then, like, the only people that kind of took you seriously were people who were into hip hop, and I was a metalhead, and I wasn't really into hip hop back then. So, you know, I I didn't work with many people that were, active. And also, it's heavily regulated in Iran music, so you gotta get permits, and you gotta jump through many hoops to be able to release your music. So that was another thing that didn't really let me get my music out here in where I live.
I it's interesting you say that because one of the things that was striking to me when hearing the audio that accompanied your NFTs, and we'll show a few more in a minute, was the drums because they were pretty distinct, what I would call hip hop trap music type of drums. Like they hit hard, and that's not easy for a lot of people to do. And it seemed like you did that really well. How does that happen if hip hop's not really your thing?
No, it didn't used to be my thing. I actually got much. I actually listen to a much more diverse range of music now. As I got older, I got really into trap music. I got into hip hop. I got into, like, I wasn't into Iranian hip hop per se. I used to listen to, like, I don't know, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Biggie, all the OGs back then, Tupac. But when after, like, after a while, I got to listen to Iranian hip hop as well and appreciate it. You know, as I got older, my, kind of mind got more open to more ideas, and I wasn't that much judgmental. I used to, like, judge everything. Now I just try to look at it and see the beauty in it.
Yeah, I think that was all of us at some point with music, right? And then you get to a point when you're older and you can appreciate it all. And as I tell people, if it bangs, it bangs, right? It doesn't really matter the genre for sure. If I was going to play someone a track from your SoundCloud to give them an idea of the stuff that you were doing, just on beat making and production, what would be a track you'd like us to kind of showcase here?
I actually really like Shiraz blues, which actually is played with the Persian tambour. It's my favorite instrument to play, and I really try to combine it. It's not really well known. Uh, it wasn't showcased until 100 years ago. It was just used in ceremonial settings and for religious practices. But after some time, after modernization came around, it got introduced to the public, and I had the opportunity to be introduced to it, and I really fell in love with it. I actually can show it to you. It looks like this. It's like this is like a it's like a guitar. These frets are like a guitar, but it's got two strings at the bottom and one string at the top, and it sounds like this. And I really love it. Uh, and I really try to produce as much as I can with it. So that track Shiraz Blues is my first track I made with this instrument.
Awesome. I'm going to let that run right now. Give everybody a flavor for this. I'll remind everybody whenever we run music on this show, it's got to go stream from a website into another website, back out to you wherever you're tuning in, whether that's Discord, Twitch, or Twitter. So be sure to look at the links that we will provide for the source audio, which will be awesome. This is going to have some level of inception, but it'll give you an idea of the type of stuff that we're talking about here. So let's take a listen to Shiraz Blues. Fire, my friend, absolute fire.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So the music accompaniment is just incredible in itself. So you talked a little bit about your journey in music there and how it kind of progressed, and I even see some dubstep down here. So you were trying to do some different genres and experiment throughout. Let's talk about your visual artistry. How did you progressively obtain the skill that you have? Because I would say that this is first of all, before we even get to animation, you talked about drawing when you were young, but I feel like it has almost a an aesthetic. I don't know how to characterize it, but I feel like it's very accessible. Uh, it's very appealing and on a kind of a universal level. Did you take in some of your anime influence or some of the gigs that you had as you were kind of going through the DIY? Talk to me about this progression and how you got from sketching with pen to where you're at now.
So I actually am always an advocate of self-education, and I actually learning guitar was really hard, and teaching myself it was really hard, and I kind of learned how to teach myself based on that experience that I got. I don't know, like when you're really young, your frontal cortex is developing, and I kind of like connected the circuit to teach yourself, and I kind of got efficient at it. Just I used to watch someone do something and just repeat the process. And I actually started doing like an Instagram/YouTube channel to talk about Persian mythology because I was fascinated by it. I actually discovered it at a later age, like after I quit my job. I discovered it and I was fascinated with it. I couldn't believe that I hadn't, gotten introduced to it at an earlier age. And I actually wanted to give make that more accessible, and I started like to do all of the things that you need to do, like writing the scripts, voicing over it. And I had to draw and animate the settings because I wanted to make it look more appealing. So I started teaching myself After Effects and how to work with it then. And that kind of let me, I just watched YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video and just go through the process, repeat it. And that kind of was my process of teaching that myself. And before that, like, I had to like design the characters. So I took some courses in character design, and I kind of like watched the tutorials and applied my knowledge, and through practice, and just it's just it piles on. You watch one tutorial today, one tomorrow, and you kind of like just piles on and piles on and piles on, and you kind of learn more. So that's been my process to getting here. And I don't think like I'm that good of a visual artist. I like there are so many great artists in the NFT space that I'm not nearly comparable to them. But I just try to mm, kind of grip the concept, grip through basic, um, symbolism and kind of like more. It I don't want it to be that apparent, and I just didn't want it to be that detailed that you kind of get lost in it. So basically, I came up with this kind of style that you're seeing today.
Yeah, I mean, people love the recipe, right? Wherever you dashed a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I think it's pretty distinct. If I were to see some of your artwork somewhere, I may say, "Hey, that looks like a Razmard piece because of uh, of the way that you put it together." But certainly, if I saw this in the music hit, there'd be no question. There'd be no question that was a unique combination coming from you. So appreciate you sharing some of that journey. Some people have commented in the community via DM to me about the colors and wanted me to ask you. You make mention of psychedelic occasionally. Is that something you've explored as a possible influence here, or just thematically?
What was that? Kind of got
Uh,
shrugged the word that you
yeah.
said.
So you mentioned psychedelic in some places. Is are you talking about just exploring the themes of it? There are some artists that literally will go on psychedelics to create, or try to mimic that with like sleep deprivation or different experiments.
I have actually explored some psychedelics in my lifetime, but I found out that you can. It's like a state that you can achieve through, I don't know, listening to binaural beats, meditation, yoga sometimes kind of gets me into that state. I haven't tried sleep deprivation, but definitely like it's achievable not only with and I think if you I don't advocate for doing any illegal substances or drugs, but after you have one of those experiences, one of those mystical experiences, I wanted to say there is like a switch in your brain that you just see colors differently after that. So basically, that might be it.
Yeah, that's the second time I've heard this in the past week from different artists saying that after a particular experience, just everything, um, their perception of things was very different. So interesting for you to share that. Thank you. Someone made a comment as we're talking that, your colors are very vibrant, but there's a real richness to the overall palette and the way that it comes together. It seems like it's, very intentionally textured and layered with culture, and that's part of the appeal to some of the people that are tuning in. So talking about appeal, how did you get
I
exposure?
appreciate the nice comments.
Yes, definitely. So talking about appeal, how did you get exposure and into the crypto and NFT space?
I actually got into crypto after the initial, big pump back in, I don't know, early 2020. But I kind of, started trading and I kind of like didn't know what I was doing and I had a bad experience. I just stopped doing anything that had anything to do with crypto. And one of my friends got into NFTs early, and he was just telling me, "Dude, you're doing digital art, you're doing music. You should just get into it." And I was like, "No, no, I don't want to like, I don't want to deal with crypto again." And after a while, I was like, "Okay, this is kind of like, it's not working. It's kind of like bigoted. You maybe should like go and see what's up." And I came and saw what's up, and actually, the initial thing that I was attracted to was like uh, mm, buying PFP projects because my friend had made good profits on it, and that was my initial, introduction to crypto. But after my own experience with it, I really don't recommend it to anyone. And like, you really need to know what you're doing if you want to start doing that. And like, I didn't gain any profits from doing that, but that was like kind of my segue into NFTs, and I just kind of like learned about it, and I was like, okay, I can like make something, and I can like do some of my pieces, and just mint one of them and see like if someone is willing to buy them. And after like 1 month or so, I had my first sale on OpenSea, and that kind of started my NFT journey.
Yeah, I'm looking at some derivatives that you made right now. So even though the PFP adventure didn't turn out well, these are certainly definitely cool, and you can see the preview of where you would go afterwards. You mentioned OpenSea. Talk to me about that. You start to get traction on OpenSea, and then they go and ban people from particular geographies. What were you thinking when that happened? How was that experience for you?
Uh, it was. I kind of like you got rugged, but I think you are talking about getting banned off OpenSea.
Yes.
Yes, or all right. So definitely it was frustrating at first, but I had heard it happen to some of my friends, and but I actually have to take responsibility because they had stated it in their terms of service, and as they are a private company, they can do whatever they want with their platform. So it's actually against the nature of decentralization, but it is how it is, and I had to like had studied earlier. But you never think it's gonna happen to you until it happens to you. But it was really frustrating for me. But I actually saw it as a way to get my own contract, and I made my own contract on manifold.xyz, and I reminted all the tokens I had, and the ones that weren't animated, I reanimated them, and I put a music track on them. So if they were like still images, or like they were, if someone had like bought like it was a series of NFTs, it wasn't like a one-on-one, and nobody else had bought it, I just turned that into a one-on-one and airdropped it to their wallet to kind of like it's not their fault that I didn't read the terms and services correctly, and they now can't trade it. So now they can't trade it. They can't, of course, trade it on OpenSea because my account is banned there, but they can, trade it on Foundation, which nowadays I'm using.
Awesome, and lots of people appreciate that answer, and how you approached it. Everyone's different, but I think it definitely shows you in the face of adversity, really making something of that, and that kind of talks to some of the things you mentioned earlier in your life of becoming a creator and how you just kept, self-teaching and moving forward. I see that you have some work on object as well. Can you tell me a little bit about the pieces you have here?
Yeah, so basically, I have my first mint, which is like it's just a still image I drew back in the day, and I just wanted to mint it an object. It was like the 9th of September 2021 that I minted it, and it kind of sold out. And but after that, I really stopped doing objects. It didn't sell out immediately, and I was frustrated. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna like work on object for now. But I had this idea that I want to sell my music as NFTs, and I want to make it accessible, and I want to bring value to the people that collect it. So I made this um, collection called Raz's High Vibes on Object, and I started minting some of my tracks on it. And currently, I have three of my tracks listed there. And the idea was, if you buy one of these tracks, you get to have synchronization rights of it, for your entire life. So basically, a synchronization right is, if you want to like license a track for a YouTube video or for a podcast or like for a movie, you have to pay the artist, basically starting from $50 up to whatever based on the artist. But I was like, okay, uh, first of all, I'm not that famous of an artist yet, and this is a chance of, mm, you know, it's like selling your stocks early. You know, if you think of an artist as a startup, you know, I'm kind of like, if people like my stuff, they can invest in my career early. And I'm trying to, create more, market myself more. And I just saw this as a, cheap entryway for people who don't, make a lot of money in the NFT space, and, want to invest in my journey and be a part of it, and I started like minting these NFTs, and they have some kind of intrinsic value as well, so you can use it in your own podcasts or videos.
Yeah, that's very cool and interesting that you took this approach. There's lots of platforms that are music specific and trying to really put just the music on the forefront of the NFT. And instead of going to something curated, you said, I'm going to go ahead and use what's already there to experiment, which is a lot of what we talk about with Object and Tezos right now, and people kind of using it as that playground to do more experimental stuff. So, very interesting that you did this, and you're right. Like you had said, I'm not that famous yet. I like that that caveat was there. So sure, this is a great opportunity for people to collect and get a piece of your work. If I were to play one of these for everyone to listen to right now, which one would you recommend?
I actually dropped the third one today, but it's kind of long. But I really like the, second one. That's kind of short and sweet. I like it.
Now, let's hop in real quick. Dope. I'm gonna drop that link right now into our Discord because they're keen to hear it, and obviously going through StreamYard and the levels of Inception has caused some issues. But again, that's very cool how you're experimenting with this on Object. Have you started down the path of um, experimenting or looking into some music focused NFTs without the visual component?
Into what NFTs?
They have some audio NFTs where it would just be the music, right? The music is just the focus and not really the visual component, like catalog or things like that.
No, not right now, actually. Uh, I'm actually looking forward to do that when I have found a more concrete direction in music that I want to explore and drop a whole album on one of those platforms. But for time being, that my music is more experimental, I think Object is a good platform to explore in that direction.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I did want to take a moment here. One thing we do here at Whale is we are very uh, we lean into Web3 and we try to incorporate POAPs with all of our events. For future gating of different things, we want to reward people that participate, that tuned in to check out this stream and others. So if you are familiar, there's an app on the phone, POAP app. For those of you that do collect them, it's a great collectible to show that you attended an event, but likewise, it's a token that could possibly have more utility down the line. We do it here at Whale via a secret phrase. So if you open the POAP app, have that ready in the bottom right hand corner, there's an option to put in a secret phrase, and I'll give that to you in just a moment. Before I give everybody that secret phrase, Razmard, I wanted to. This was pretty striking to me. This sign and the story behind it and how it kind of led to where you're at. So I'll let you kind of lay the groundwork if you could on how this was influential in you kind of going down this path.
You know, it just cuts out at the most important part that I have to make sense of the whole sentence. So like you
No,
talk about the and it cut out. Can you just repeat
yeah,
that?
no problem. I'll actually say it. This story of you were in the cafe trying to figure out what you were going to do, and you saw this sign, and it was kind of a sign for you. I thought was super dope, especially with
Oh
the missing
yeah.
letters. Yeah.
So
And
yeah, like that's great that you went through my website and read that.
yeah, so for those, if you go to the website, you'll see kind of his
Oh,
progression.
okay.
It outlines what was happening, and then he actually saw this sign, and it was kind of clear to him what he should do going forward. So this actually is the POAP secret phrase: "Make art your life." You can go ahead and use that to score that POAP, and you'll be able to add that to your collection. But talk about a serendipitous sign. That's crazy.
That's great.
So while we have you, what
So
you talk about?
basically, I went to. Sorry,
Go no, I go ahead. The
you
delay's
go ahead.
getting me. You go ahead.
So the story behind that is basically I went to a music performance in a local cafe here in Tehran where I live, and I was they were like a jazz band and they played their songs and they invited an Iranian dotar player, which is like a it's like it looks like the tambour that I showed you. It's like a traditional Iranian instrument. And the guy went on and played and it was just mesmerizing and I kind of like had a near I don't know near death experience or like out of body experience. It just the music just took me to another world and I was like, okay, this is so cool. And I just looked over, in the corner. I saw the sign. It was like, it's read make smart choices in your life, but the parts that it wasn't like a neon sign, and the parts that were on said like make art your life. And I was like, okay, this is like a message from the universe, and it kind of like that vibe. And it was really I really wanted to like just pursue music after that and just focus my all of my efforts, most of my effort actually on music.
That's super dope, and thank you for sharing that with us. It's gonna stick with me for sure. You mentioned the album that you'd like to do at some point as NFTs. That sounds down the line. What's next for you right now? What are you working on?
I am actually working on the next piece on the Razmard collection, which is now on Foundation, my one-on-one animated music NFTs collection. That was like my main entry point, and it's like what I really like to do because it kind of explores that surreal kind of vibe that I really like, and it's kind of psychedelic, which I love even more. So I am actually like in the coloring phase of the next one, so I just have to color this one and animate it, and then start producing the music, and I hope to have it out by the end of September.
Very cool. Someone asked, how long does it, there's so many details in your animation. How long would it take you to create a piece usually from start to finish?
So I'm doing music on the side as I'm drawing my pieces. So I have to practice every day. Sometimes I have to teach my students, and but I work on it, and basically it takes around like between 2 months to 4 months. This last piece took me 4 months to make, but I was kind of like I was really picky about it. I kind of like redrew half of it again. It doesn't have to be this way, but just wanted to make it right. And I'm not in a, I don't want to be a victim of the hustle culture, like draw more. You gotta like, oh, you should gotta sell, sell. I just draw, and when I have to sell, when it's time to sell, I'm gonna sell. I gotta take my time to do the best I can at this particular moment. I don't want to like look at it like in a perfectionist way that okay, I don't want to do it, but yeah, like perfectionism is kind of holding me back too. So I have to kind of find a balance as I'm getting more and more proficient in this craft.
Very cool. We'll all be excited to see that piece drop. A good question from the audience. Besides the mythology of Iran, are there other major cultural influences that you like to explore in your art?
Yeah, of course, it's always been universal. I've got influences from Hinduism, from Buddhism, from Taoism, from Zoroastrianism, which is like an ancient Iranian religion, from Christianity, of course, from Judaism, and from actually Indian, not Indian, Native American folklore and stories. And I actually don't kind of like focus on one aspect. I try to combine it, and I don't want to like point fingers at like even like I got some South Asian influences there if you look for it. But yeah, there are actually I have that changed my life view drastically. Like getting to know all these different mythologies, different religious ideologies and beliefs, and they offer you some kind of practical wisdom to just use in your daily life because people living back then were people like us, like their brains were the same, so it's not that different. We can kind of like take some of their wisdom and use it in our daily life.
Yeah, and I like how your pieces, you're not trying to put something at the forefront. There's just so much woven in. I don't even know what some of them are, but they're all working together to kind of show something. But clearly there's some iconography as well that in the subconscious people are getting messages, even if it's not really, laid out plainly for them and they're not handheld. That's part of what I love about your art. There's so many aspects to it, from the music to what you put together idea wise, and also the way that you put it together with animation. Incredible work, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
um So I know we got you up against the hour. I would love to take a piece of your choice to kind of close out with and show everybody before we wrap up the show. Is there a particular NFT or a track from your SoundCloud or YouTube or Twitter that you'd like us to kind of leave on for a final note?
I actually dropped this the struggle to free your mind NFT just today. I would love to hear your audience's opinion and yourself actually. So would be glad to hear that with you guys.
Okay. Is that on Object? Here we go.
It's the piece right here is the third piece in this collection.
That was wild, man. So here here's the thing I could say about it. I immediately thought I need to get this in the car to listen to this and cruise around to really get the full envelopment of it. I think it's super dope. I really like the synths that were woven in there, and like the guitar was almost sultry. So that juxtaposition I think was fire, and I'm sure in the community, yeah, they're dropping all kinds of Matrix gifts as well, right? Really digging it. So love love how different that was than the other one too, right? It's thematically I can feel something similar, but definitely a different direction and a different exploration of you putting your stuff together. Super dope.
Yeah, thank you, man. I actually really try to go into different directions with each song that I come up with. So this was actually one of my earlier songs that I hadn't released. So I was like, okay, this is just sitting there, and it's a good fit for the collection. So let's just mint it today, and I did it. And thank you for listening to it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it was fire. I'm not kidding you. I'm gonna go put it in the car, and then I will DM you probably even more comments on it because I really, really dug it. Razmar, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing with us the whale community and the greater NFT community. People will be checking this out on our Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, as well as in our Discord right now. We will drop the links for everybody to follow, and we eagerly are looking forward to you dropping your next piece, whether that's on object or the one you're working on for foundation. So you definitely made some fans here today. We appreciate you coming through.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate being here and thank you for having me. This was really a surprise for me. I didn't think that like small artist like me would get a chance to be featured here, but I really appreciate the chance and thank you for going through my art and enjoying it with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we look forward to when you come back again, certainly with a different profile as an artist. As you said earlier, you're not that famous yet. So we'll be here to talk with you throughout the journey. Have a great one.